thank you all for coming out to join us. We have a combination of obviously people in the room, people at home as well. And then obviously we'll be posting this recording online. For everyone in the room, if you haven't already, you can grab a handout. And for everybody watching at home, we're going to post and send all of those handouts and everything. So everybody has all the information. We'll post, everything that you need. Also, after we go through the information that we're going to share tonight, we'll take questions from you, and people at home, you'll be able to email in questions as well. Our goal tonight is to give you a good sense of what the 8th grade trip is going to be like, because we know it's a big deal. Sending your children away overnight, there's varying degrees of comfort among the kids, but it's a big thing to be away from home. So, I can assure you they're in very good hands. You're looking at 3 people that have been on this trip quite a few times, and 2 people that have done excellently well in organizing and coordinating this trip. So I guess with that said, we should probably do introductions. I'm Mark Mongan. I'm the principal. And you should probably step in front of the camera as well. That's right. Don't be shy.
That's good. I don't have to see myself up. Matt Goff, history teacher and coordinator. And you want to do your?
And I'm Brian Scanlon, a band director, and of course, coordinating the trip.
Okay, so there are quite a few things we want to go over with you over the course of tonight. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put up a hand. Like I said, once we go through the presentation, we will definitely take time to answer any questions that you have. Okay, and then as always, obviously, this is just kind of the beginning of a process. Anywhere along the way, between now and May, there's plenty of time. So any questions that come up or anything like that, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. All right. With that said, yes, let's get to it.
Okay.
Mr. Go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. We promise to try not to be long. First of all, thank you for being here. I guess one of the important things that we want to tell you, everyone, your children are going to be safe. We're going to take care of them. We've been doing this for a long time now, and it's a pretty well-oiled machine. A couple things. The last payment was due last week, so if you haven't had a chance to get that in, if you could look into that, that would be great. If there's any issues with, I've had a couple contacts that, we have to wait maybe to the 15th. We understand that's payday, and it's not a cheap trip. We'll work with you. Just let us know so we could kind of put a little note next to things. But the reason why we want to have this meeting is to talk about a lot of the paperwork that you're going to start to see, whether it be medical paperwork in terms of getting doctor's notes for medication that your children have to take, or really the biggest thing for everybody is the rooming, because that's the most important thing for everybody, right? The hotel part of the trip. That's what the kids always have the questions about. So we'll talk about some of those things. Our itinerary is still almost done. We don't really share all the details of the itinerary. We definitely won't put that online. That's all just was people don't need to know where we're going to be, so we could give you general ideas of where we're going to be, but we're not going to be doing, telling you what times and things like that. But everything is planned down, to the minute for the whole trip. So I guess we'll start with what the trip's going to look like. It's on May. Oh, we missed it. May 8th and 9th. It's a Thursday and a Friday. The chaperones will be here at 6:15 a.m. and we're going to ask that the students start to arrive at 6:30 a.m. Previous years, we kind of got a little later, but then we realized we felt like we were rushing. So we're kind of just dropping everything back a little bit because you guys all know, especially with Route 80, you hit traffic when you don't expect to hit traffic. And other years, we're always like on the phone. We'll be there in 5 minutes, and we're trying to avoid any of that rushing. That gives us a little more time if we have to take, and Mr. Scanlon knows the rest stops very well. He knows, well, not, I guess that sounds bad. But yeah, he knows where to stop. He's a Pennsylvania guy, so we could spend a little more time taking a bathroom break instead of literally running them across, the parking lot to get them in and out. So that's that. So get here at 6:30. When they get here, we have them check in with their chaperone. And at that point, we have their bags will be checked. And obviously, they could go to a chaperone if they feel most comfortable with checking their bags. So that's that. So it doesn't have to be your chaperone that checks their bag. We check their bag, making sure they're not sneaking in their Xbox, which they tried before. They're not going to BJ's and bringing the whole giant thing of hard candy, which they've tried before. Or what was it, knee hockey one year? They had like a little net. They try everything. Check for things. We'll talk about in terms of what they could bring and what they can't bring. But we check just to make sure everyone's going to be safe. After we check in, we start loading up the buses. So they're allowed to bring one carry-on, and that carry-on, we usuly try to keep it like a drawstring bag, something smaller, or a smaller backpack. You don't want to bring too much on the actual bus. And like I said, you guys here have this, so we kind of listed some of those things. And at home, that list will be we'll publish that too on the carry-on. So I'm not going to take your time up going through all that stuff. Last year it rained, so we learned that having an extra pair of socks in your carry-on is important, because wet feet stink, literally and figuratively. So that's that for, and then they can have a suitcase. We tell them, bring something, it's one night. And we used to do the cruise, used to be a dinner cruise, and they used to get dressed up, but we're doing a lunch cruise on the second day now, so they don't really have to worry about bringing fancy clothes and things like that. There are some things we ask them to not bring open-toed shoes or flip-flops, just because the stairs, if you've ever been on a boat, they're metal and they're steep and it's wet. So just a suitcase that they could bring with them. They have to carry it everywhere too, so remind them of that. They could, bring things within reason. Sometimes we do use the stairs. Sometimes the hotel lets us use the stairs, which we prefer, especially if you're on one of the first couple floors, so you don't have 115 kids trying to load onto the elevator at one time and scaring all the people that didn't know that there's going to be a school group there. Or if we can, we use the stairs. Medication. So all I'm really going to say about medication, Mrs. Hansen is our nurse. She couldn't make it tonight, but I talked to her. April 8th is the date that's most important for everybody to kind of remember, jot down, in terms of anything that has to go get clearance for medication. So the medication is basically anything, obviously prescription needs a specific doctor order. We'll post that form that's on the website already. It's under I found it today. It's under the health office. You could find it. But she told me to tell you that for everything your child has to take, needs a specific form. So if he or she has to take something in the morning, that needs a form. If they have to take something in the afternoon, that needs a form. If they have to take something at night, so it's a lot of forms. She's collecting the forms though. So that's if you have any questions, I would just say reach out to her right away. We could try to help, but basically anything medical related should go right to the nurse. Something else, where did I write it down? Maybe I didn't write it in here. Oh, that includes inhalers and EpiPens if your child self-administers, either one of those things. Obviously, the doctor, you need an order for that again, and they have to have it. She wants you to know that they have to have it with them the morning of the trip. Okay, has to be on their person. She's not going. I guess she's not. She said it needs to be with them. I'll leave it at that.
If they self-administer.
Yes, if they self-administer. Yep. Medication, souvenir money. Everything is. Only place that they could really go for souvenirs is Dave & Buster's, and we still kind of limit them, but then they're responsible. I wouldn't give them credit cards or anything like that. We say $25 with what you guys paid for. We get Dave & Buster's dinner, and they get a $20 card. Well, it's all rolled in, so that could, depending on how much they play, could go very quickly, or they could recharge it and things like that if they'd like to. So that's for souvenir money. Hotel etiquette is, these are really great kids. Historically, we've had great classes. I'm not too concerned about that. We just tell them when it's time to have lights out, when it's time to be quiet, please be quiet. because you never know who's next door. You could have someone maybe getting a surgery next door. You could have someone maybe going for a job interview next door. Hotels, I'm sure if you've ever experienced this, they don't really care if there's a big group of kids next to you. They also don't disclose that to the general public. So we tell them, you never know who's next door. We have them make sure the outdoor, if there is an outdoor lock, we ask that the hotel locks it with the key, so they can't undo that. So they can't even, this one doesn't have a balcony, so we don't have to worry about that. We tell them to close their blinds, so they're not looking out, no one else is looking in. If they have the adjoining doors, those have to be locked as well. So everything, and we ask the hotel to actually do that as well for safety purposes. Security, I know Mr. Scanlon, he'll take care of that. And I'm sure we're missing a lot, and we'll probably go back and forth. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I'll come back and I'll we could talk a little bit more about the roommate process. So we're looking at a hotel.
All right. So just a couple of things when it comes down to security, we've got several layers, right? So through, first off, you have us. We have the 12, 50, 16 of us. There's a pretty good group of us going. So we have the chaperones, and what we do with the hotels is although, like you say, you might not know who you're next to, they block us up. So what ends up happening is the kids are sandwiched between us. We have like chaperone, some kids, a chaperone, some more kids, and a chaperone at the end. So we're on the bookends and in the middle. Then the hotel, of course, has their own security service who will be monitoring the hotel as well. And then on a third layer, we hire 2 guards. So we're on 2 floors. One floor is dedicated to the girls' rooms. One floor is dedicated to the boys' rooms, and we have a security guard on each floor. And they come in at 10:30 at night, and they're with us till 6:30 in the morning. So they're basically with us while we're getting the kids in set up, and they are there for when we're getting up to go to breakfast. Now, the company we use, if you want to take a look at them, they're called Echelon Security. They're based out of Philadelphia. And the one reason that I personally like this company is I have a long relationship with New Jersey State Police. So I've been working with state troopers for 35 years. And when I found this company, to find out that the overwhelming majority of their security guards are retired police officers. So they have multiple layers of what you can pay. So I go right for the top, and I want the retired police officers. So we have people. The reason I do that is, one, of course, you can guarantee a higher level professional. We've had some companies in the past when we used to use outside vendors to do our groups, and sometimes we did not have the best security guards. It was somebody who could put a uniform on and show up. So at least with these guys, we know we have people who are trained in being able to verbally deal with people who may be giving them a hard time. Plus, we also know they can probably take down somebody who's giving them another hard. So we go with them. We've had some really, really good guards. They give us really detailed lists of everything that goes on through the night. Plus, and when it comes down to security, the thing that we ask the kids to do too, and the security guards are on board with this as well, is if they will not open their door for anyone. They're basically instructed. It's like, unless you see through the people that it's one of us, one of your teachers, administrators, don't open the door. And that includes the security company. So what the security company knows is that when they knock on the doors, the kids are not going to open the doors, but they'll give them we need to keep the noise down. If they make a second visit, then the kids know that they're literally told, you have to call us. Because if you don't call us, the security guard's calling us. And then we come down and we'll get into the room and talk with the kids. But just so you guys know, that's how far we go to make sure that they are safe. Like as Mr. Goff was saying, we ask them to close their blinds. Very, very important step, because the last thing we want to do is advertise to anybody on the outside world that there's a whole bunch of middle school kids in a block. So we ask you to support that too. Because, hey, we want to look out and say, no, close them up. It's just an important step. All right. So that's what we basically do with the security. And then some other things to just kind of think about is like we just talked about just general etiquette. So nowadays, of course, the cell phone it's nearly impossible to detach from a kid. But we're on the trip. You'll see all the different things. We're going to give you guys a list of cell phone things that they kind of need to follow. But we'll talk about how, like, we know that everybody's camera nowadays is their cell phone. So what we ask kids to do is on the trip down and whatnot, they can be on their YouTube, playing their games or whatever. We ask them to bring earphones so they're not sharing it, right? But once we get to the point where we're starting to tour, if there's a tour guide involved or anything like that, Then we say your phone is a camera at this point. You want to take pictures, your phone is a camera. We're not texting our friends. We're not doing any social media, which you'll see on there that's not permitted. There will be some social media updates, but that'll be handled by Mr. Mongan. So you guys can follow us, but we'll be controlling that, right? So we ask the kids not to do that for lots of reasons we don't have to really go into. But we just ask the kids to really just be respectful and clean and whatnot wherever we go. We go on a bus. We like to see the bus stays, close to as clean as when we got on it. When we come into the hotel as Mr. Goff, we just want to make sure we respect all the people who are there as regular guests, the employees, the whole 9 yards. When we go to, if just to kind of go over, we first get there, we go to Gettysburg, we go to the museum, we take a field tour. We have these wonderful tour guides. We want to make sure that when we're on the tour that the kids are respectful to the tour guides. These guys are out there. They really are into what they're doing. We want to make sure the kids are getting the most out of it too. So, the phones are off unless they're taking pictures. We want them exercising courtesy. And the same thing whenever we go into Dave and Buster's, there will be other people there. But we have a banquet room that's all ours. So we just ask the kids, when we go down to do the gaming, there's going to be regular customers there. Just kind of be mindful of that. And our kids are usually absolutely awesome. So we expect no different this year for sure. And beyond that, there's really most of the stuff, you can take a look and read through it on your own. We don't have to go through all the ideas, but we just kind of like the kids, like the idea, when we travel in groups. So stay with your group. If we do need to take a bathroom break, we go in pairs. Nobody ever goes alone and things like that. So we're just kind of, that's kind of just the most important thing is that the kids know we have to stay together in groups. And it's very important too, because that they stay with their bus group. Because for instance, maybe I'm with bus number 1 and we're going to a thing at Gettysburg. Bus number 2 is at the same site, but they were there 15 minutes before us. So they're cycling back to our bus. We're cycling to the site to go see what we're looking at. And every now and again, a kid sees their friend and next, they're with the wrong group. So we have to kind of make sure that they really stay together, because when they don't, everything gets a pause until we all figure out who's got who and why are they there. So we just ask you guys, just share that with your kids. Beyond that, really just a couple things you'll see on there that just were important to us. Again, when it came, and Mr. Goff talked about the packing and we go through their bags, just a couple things to keep in mind, because we've had disasters in the past. We cannot have anything carbonated. So kids want to bring stuff with it, bring water, bring, any kind of powder, you can make it into Gatorade or whatever, but we can't have anything carbonated, because if we end up with a hot day, we have had the cans explode in the luggage underneath the bus. So those bay areas underneath the bus on a hot day, they're going to be at least 20 to 30 degrees warmer than outside. So we've had that happen. We ask kids, when you're bringing your snacks, very important that they have to be nut-free. And if we can, universally safe. So if we can give you guidelines out, there's websites you can go to, but we just want to make sure that the snacks they're bringing, first off, it's always going to be good to check with your roommates to find out if we have any concerns. So we ask them to collaborate, but we do check with that too, just in case we see a red flag item. But another great one to not pack because it melts is chocolate. So we talk about that. We've had that happen in the past too. So beyond that, we're just asking the kids to be prepared on day 1 with little things like sunglasses and raincoats, as extra socks if it rains, things like that. For the overnight, just your change of clothes and a couple snacks, your toiletries and whatnot. I don't know if there's too much else to cover about that, except for just a high level of conduct and a high level of respect. And as Mr. Goff was saying, please don't send them with too much. We don't want to be worried about valuables. Don't bring special items, the things that mean a lot to you. Don't bring those, because we don't want to lose them. We also don't want to have just too many issues with lost items. So we have had that in the past, and luckily we usually find everything, but there's a panic before that. Right. So we just ask you guys, just kind of think about that with what you're sending them with. They might need a few extra bucks, like Mr. Goff said, if they want to play a lot of games. There's gift shops. There's not many. Dave and Buster's has the stuff. We ask the kids, you can't bring home the big bear because we don't have a seat for it. Things like that. It's kind of common sense. But there is a little gift shop at the Gettysburg Museum. There is one at the Eastern State Penitentiary, which we go to visit. But they're kind of small. They're not that. It's not the type of kids that the kids just love the gift shops. They're not too much. But otherwise, a couple bucks for that, a couple bucks for Dave and Buster's. And I can't really think of anything else too much right now because we've covered the medication.
Dave and Buster's, on the Dave and Buster's, they have on the Dave and Buster's, they have the card, and there's a Dave and Buster's in Wayne. So we just also tell them, like, play, have fun, don't worry about getting in line to get your souvenirs, which we might, if they get online too late, when we have to go, we have to go. Just save the card, and you could use it up here. They don't have to feel like they're.
And you can bring the bag home.
Yeah, or the giant straw of sugar. That they like that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys love it too.
Yep. And then I guess another thing that we learned too, and you guys probably know this, like if they have the toiletries and things like that, put it in like a Ziploc bag. So if that gets squished, then because we're not going to be anywhere to buy new clothes for them, or they're going to wear the same clothes they wore the next day. Will smell nice probably, but. Be a little dampened by that. So I guess we'll talk. We'll do rooms. All right. So the room. This is it. Here we go.
This is the big issue.
And we are doing this meeting a little earlier than normal. And by the way, I know we've said it a million times. All of the things that we're talking about, a suggested list of what to bring, the medical stuff, a checklist. We'll have all that stuff online probably by Monday. Just want to iron a couple. We're trying to go digital with a lot of things, so we're just making sure that it's all done right the first time before we have to put out 5,000 different forms. And we'll also post it onto the Google Classroom, which you hopefully have access to. If not, Mr. Mongan is usually able to put it on like a folder, right on your parent part of the website. And it'll be private too, so it's not the whole world can't go see what's happening. So rooming, it is the most exciting and most nerve-wracking part of the trip. Mostly nerve-wracking. It's not easy. We do our best, and I'll start from like the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is everybody gets one person that they ask for on their list. So they're going to get a list, and we ask them to put 8 names. Seems like a lot, but if you're into algorithms and things like that, like the more information we have, the easier it is to get them someone that they want to be in a room. So 8 names for their list. We guarantee everybody gets one person that they ask for. Okay. So then now the next question is, could we get more than one person? Obviously, we want everybody to be happy. Okay. I don't want to get into seeing the little blinky thing on my phone the next day, right? We're all trying to avoid everything, right? So the first thing is everyone gets one person they want. Then let's see if we can get 2 people. Get 2 people that they want. We're perfect scenario, 3 people that they want. Okay. Obviously, we're looking for, like I said, the best scenario for everything. Then we start looking at reciprocity. So reciprocity means, to me, I asked for Mr. Scanlon. Mr. Scanlon asked for me. That's the dream scenario, right? Everyone gets it. So it's a reciprocal in a room. Does that happen a lot? Yes. Are there situations where it doesn't happen? Yes. Based on numbers, based on, all different factors. Sometimes someone's friends may be not going, or whatever the case is. That has happened. In that case, if that does happen, maybe the person only gets one person and there's no reciprocity. The next level of things beyond the room is your chaperone group that you spend the whole day with. And we really do a good job. So then we put them in a group of 8 to 12. So they'll have more of their friends in that. Now, then they have the bus group. They might be sitting they'll be on the same bus. It's funny, we spend so much time talking rooming. It is important, don't get me wrong, but it's such a minuscule time of them being awake on this trip in that hotel room. We get there at 9 o'clock, 9:30, and we tell them 11 o'clock, go to bed. And then we get them up at like 6:30. I tell them 5, but it's really 6:30. And that's it. So that's what we always say. Like sometimes it might not be the best case scenario for you. It's just really, you're just finding a bed to sleep in. Okay. So yes, we try for reciprocity. Obviously, we want to try to make it the best for everybody, but realistically speaking, we can't do that all the time. So a couple things that we and we do have meetings way before the trip, we'll have a big meeting. Then we have chaperone meetings. We'll have lots of meetings with the kids. So we tell them the same things. Is that we tell them, when they do get the rooms, and if it's not a dream scenario, or maybe it's, I have Mr. Scanlon and he asked for me and we're together, but then don't take offense, Mr. Mongan. Maybe Mr. Mongan wants one of us, but nobody asked for him. Can that happen? Well, if we go back to number one, yes, it could happen. It might not be reciprocal, but Mr. Mongan wanted one of us. So there's a case that would happen. So as obviously we're all parents, and I always say, like, if that was your child who maybe is not biggest social butterfly, and he felt comfortable with your child, I would, instead of maybe going, oh my God, we could say it's kind of cool that they thought that much of your child that want to be with you. And do we love that? Do we want it to be reciprocal? Yes, but it could happen. And we would just hope that people would be accepting of that. So that's the long and short of the rooming list. Am I missing?
Yeah, a couple things.
Okay.
Sure. So Mr. Goff is absolutely right. There are a lot of moving parts. We try to make it work as much as possible. It's really important that everybody has at least one person in their room that they're comfortable with. And ideally, it'll be a group of four that they're all comfortable with each other and they're all having a good time. Your children's, feelings about their roommate, those are important. Yours are important as well. So this is not something we do in isolation just with the students. As a matter of fact, the way this will work and the way we will get this information is there's going to be a form that your child will fill out, except that is going to be emailed to you. So you will be able to go through with your child. They'll be able to put their list together, and then you will see that list because there will be a spot on that form for you to indicate, yes, I'm good with this list too. Okay, so please let us know that because that's going to be the driving factor in how we put this together. Now, in addition to that, if there are situations in the grade level, like someone your child absolutely cannot be with, and okay, they're not on your child's list, but just going that extra stage, because like Mr. Goff was saying, it might not be reciprocal. There's a possibility that maybe this child that you feel is not a good fit for your child, put your child on there. Your child got their top pick, and that was a mutual thing, but now this other person ends up in that room. We don't want that kind of a situation either. Okay? And the thing of it is, once these groups are put together and they go out, we don't make changes at that point. So it's important to front load this process with as much information as possible. So if there is something like that, please email us, send it to all three of us, let us know.
And on another note, if you don't want to have the wrestling match with your kid, I do not want the room with that kid, let them put it on the list and just email us. They'll have no idea why it didn't work. Right? They'll have no idea, but just share that with us. We honor it quite well.
Right.
And you guys email us.
Right.
Yes. We'll just go over the kids' heads on this one.
Right.
And even if it's you never think about this possible option happening. There's no way Mr. Mongan would ever be with me in a room. You never know. So anyone that you feel, and it's significant too. It has, negative interaction. It could have been last week. It could have been 2 years ago that you just, they haven't talked there. I would never thought this happened. It can happen. And, that's why Mr. Mongan said we want to stay ahead of any possible situation. So if you could think of a possible situation, let us know. We'll make a little note. That's why we also ask for 8 people on the list so we can, we can make something happen. Right? Yeah. Okay. You have anything?
Right. Okay. Huh? Yeah. Okay. So in just a moment, we're going to open it up to questions, but I hope what you heard, and we talked about it early on in terms of safety, security, and everything like that, that is our top priority 100% of the time on this trip, is making sure your child and all of our students are completely safe. We want them to have a great time. We'll do everything to make that happen, but it is always safety first, security first, and that is non-negotiable. So we've had great success with this trip. kids always have a wonderful time on this trip. We anticipate the same thing this year as well. But like I said, be assured they are in very good hands, very well cared for, very well watched over the entire time we were on this trip. Okay. One other thing that we emphasize to all of the students, and both Mr. Goff and Mr. Scanlon referenced this as well. Kinnelon in general has a very good reputation in all the places we go on this trip because each group of students we bring just do it right. They represent our community, our school so well, so that we are welcomed back, and we do emphasize with the kids, like, okay, so hotel etiquette. We're getting there fairly late at night. There are people that want to rest. We're going to keep it low. If our group is coming to the elevator and there's a hotel guest that's there, we're going to step aside. We're going to let them come in. At the restaurant, yes, of course there are cleaning staff there, but we're not going to leave a mess for them. We are going to clean up after ourselves, and so we're going to make it as easy on them. We're grateful for the service they have always provided us. They always do well by us. We always do right by them. So we anticipate all of that, and how we say it to the kids is this is their chance to pay it forward, just like each group before them has done. And that's why they're going to benefit from such a great trip, is because this is the way it's been year after year after year. And we very much, look forward to that continuing. Okay, so with that said, we'll open it up to questions. For people watching at home, if you want to email me, I'll have my email up here too, so we can look at those. My email is mongan@kinnelon.org.
One thing when we got the people at home too, Mr. Mongan talked about the word. It just hit me when he talked about non-negotiable. Right. On the thing here, we have no open-toed shoes. Right. So if you know how we have the policies with the dress policies in school. So maybe you've been called and had to bring in different footwear for your kid and whatnot. Now that's just a delay in their school day. But what happens, the biggest hot button issue is when we go on the Spirit of Philadelphia cruise, it is illegal to be on the boat in open-toed shoes. So they will not let the kid on. Now we have a big problem. So just kind of like we always know, listen, I have a kid too. We all know they'll be like, how much can I stretch this? But just kind of drive that home is they will not let them board the boat. It's not negotiable with the open-toed shoes because of the steel decks. All the stairs are steel. The decks are steel. So the room for injury to toes is just too much. So they will stick to that. So just make sure if they're going to try that, they better have a pair of sneakers very nearby or something like that they can quickly switch into. So sorry for that interruption.
And while we're waiting, the most important information, 5:30 is pickup on Friday. So you can make sure you're here at 5:30. We'll have them off the trip. We'll be passing them off to you around 5:30. I'm just kidding with you, but it is 5:30 if you want to make a note of that.
Okay. What questions can we answer for you? Yes.
What hotel are you staying at?
We are staying at the Alloy Hotel, which is a DoubleTree hotel, and it's in. Well, we're trying to a lot of the stuff we're trying to keep it to the last minute, but we're going to be in King of Prussia.
Okay.
Yes. So the question was, what hotel are we staying at? And it's the Alloy Hotel. And actually, let me emphasize that as well. So as far as like specifics of the itinerary, times and things like that, you'll get that information in one of two ways. We don't make it widely public. We won't just post it on the website so that anybody could see it, whether they were in our school or not. There will be a section of the website set up that you can log into with your school account. I know probably not a lot of people have that handy off the top of their heads, their specific website account. The other way that we disseminate that information that works really well is we blast it out, because that's secure too, because it's going to the email address that you put in real time. So we know that's going to you rather than going out to the public at large. Any other questions? You guys were very thorough. That's
No
excellent.
emails either.
They're carrying, when you mean carry on, like a backpack?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're having to carry their luggage where, like how?
Oh, basically, we talk about carrying it everywhere. They're going to carry it. Well, unless you carry it for them. They're going to carry it into the building. They're going to carry it to the bus. They're going to carry it from the bus to their hotel room, the hotel room to the bus.
And
Just that. But,
yeah.
but we just tell them that because sometimes they come with this thing that's, I can't pick this thing up. It's like, well, you're going to go up 5 flights of steps with that. So that's all we're just saying is they're moving their stuff to the buses and the rooms.
Yeah, and a drawstring bag is even
And
fun.
then when they're touring, like you're saying, like
Yeah,
even
yeah,
a little Adidas backpack. a
Yeah.
little drawstring.
So really, I'm trying to think. When we get to Gettysburg, we go inside, and there's a movie that we see, there's a museum that they see, and then they eat, and then we're back on the bus again. So really, and then when we're on the actual tour itself, it's just like you're on the bus, you look at the statue, then you go off, so they don't really have to carry it with them all the time. It's just a little bag that they bring on the bus with their little snacks and Mr. Scanlon. Yeah, they're,
And the other
earbuds.
stuff underneath.
Like the raincoats, the hats, the sunglasses, the sunblock, that sort of stuff that they might readily want to have, that keep it, of course, in their carry-on.
Yeah, there's really no need. There's no really need to carry.
Right. Yes.
I think you said there's 4 to a hotel room, and I assume they probably have to share a bed because they're probably like 2
Yeah.
queens or something like
Yes,
They're all the
that question is about how many people to a hotel room. So yes, there are 4. Typically, it's bedding in the room.
Oh, it's your standard basic old school hotel room with 2 doubles, 2 queens, the 1 bathroom, usually a small fridge or a microwave. That's your very standard hotel room.
Every now and then, someone tries to sleep in the bathtub because they don't want to,
The guys get more creative with
Right.
the chairs and stuff like that.
I tell them to get the comforter, which is kind of gross anyway. Make like a roll out of that, and make like a bumper to go in between. Sometimes they sleep on the floor. By the time, I mean, they stress about this stuff so much, but by the time they get into the rooms, they're all so exhausted. They're so excited. They're just like, they talk about what they did that day. Oh, did you see what they did? Or you see what that person did? Or do you see that person? Oh, they're how good looking, whatever they're talking about. And then they forget about all of it, So it is, they usually, typically 99%, they all come back either making new friends or saying, hey, yeah, I hung out with this person. I never really hung out with them since 5th grade. So they really make those connections again, which is nice.
Thank you for organizing as always.
Welcome.
Yeah.
That's right. That's been quite a few. End of an era. Yeah.
That's right. Is it the 3rd and final one, or is it
This is my 4th.
4th and
Wow.
final?
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't remember.
You could have been giving this presentation.
Yeah.
We could
It
have
probably
taken this
hasn't
night off.
changed. Well, you might have been here when there's 8 teachers.
Actually, Jack didn't come.
Yeah.
We missed that. So it has been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you.
And I think just one last thing, sorry, to emphasize, any questions about medical stuff, email Ms. Hanson. Usually, April 8th, that's going to be here before we know it. And I know doctor's appointment, you might have to make a doctor appointment depending on what kind of doctor you have, like if you have to get in, sometimes they're pretty good with just coming in and they'll sign something for you. But just make sure she's very specific. Like if there's 4 pills that need to be taken, so morning, night, morning, or morning, afternoon, whatever it ends up being, she's also asking that you only have, we'll have this on the forms, I promise it'll all be in writing for you, only put 4 pills in that prescription, and remember, they have to be in that prescription container. They can't be like in a loose bag, because that's definitely not good, right? State police don't like that. No, I don't like that part.
If our child doesn't need any medication, is there still a form we have to turn in that says that, or just don't?
So there's going to be just like a general Google form that we made saying those things, just like anytime you go on like a regular field trip, there's like that kind of like just a checklist or anything.
Contacts, insurance.
All that's so, but no. If you have like those the waivers, like they could take Advil, like as if needed and all that stuff, I think everything that's kind of okay. But anything that needs to be, anything that the doctor, so Advil usually the nurse has with her, but the way that she explained to me, if it ends up being like the doctor says they have to take 3 Advil per day, which is more than like what that would need they would need a script for that or something in medical. There's a form for it. I forget the name of it. Okay, does that make sense? So it's not just like as needed kind of thing. It's like they have to take it. Then that would need it too. The doctor order form, yeah.
Yes.
You're coming back on a Friday, and let's be honest.
5:30.
You hit traffic on Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Coming back.
The odd thing is Mr. Goff knows this about me. I'm the one who's like obsesses about that sort of thing. And the first thing I did when I was just reviewing our itinerary, it hit me as like, wow, that's a lot of time to get home. I was like, no, it's not. That's all. We need every one of those hours. So yeah, that's definitely in there. Plus, we will keep you guys updated with the, Mr. Mongan always putting out blasts. Plus, we have all the.
When you put out something,
Oh, yes.
you're like,
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yes, that's a good question.
We
Yes.
also we have the kids join we may end up using the Remind app. You may be invited into that too. So you'll have multiple ways that you're informed. Like I know I just did the ski club with the high school and the 8th graders here, and we'd leave as soon as we departed Mountain Creek, ETA at Pearl Miller, 9:15. If we're running late, 9:30 now. So we will definitely let you guys know throughout the day. We'll keep you guys posted. Yeah, that's a good point. And yes, it's all kind of factored into it. If it should take 2 hours, make it 3. Especially in the evening on a Friday coming through Philadelphia.
And on that note, I know Mr. Scanlon talked about the cell phones. We're not naive. They're going to text you. You're going to text them. We just ask that kind of like, hey, you there? Okay, cool. And just kind of leave it at that. But if there's ever an emergency, we don't want to, either they could talk to us, and it's not a big deal. We just kind of try to put them aside, if that makes sense. So, I'd want to be anywhere. I could just track them with that, whatever that app is. So,
and we just try to let them know, we get to the Bridgewater area. If you want to let your parents know we're about 45 minutes out, we do that too. So it's okay with that. At that point, they can text you all they want when we're on our way home. So.
Yes, and that is a good point. So yes, updates like that, if we're anticipating being early or late or something, we'll put that out. Social media, I'll be posting as we go along. I'll send all that information as the trip approaches and everything like that. So it'll be really easy for everybody to follow along with what we're doing on the trip. Okay. Any other questions?
You make it sound like a nurse is on this trip with you?
Yes, absolutely.
A nurse and a counselor.
And we have
administrator.
first aid, CPR trained chaperones. We make sure that we have a couple on each, but we have all the, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Because my daughter needs inhaler
Mhm.
and she needs an EpiPen, and she has to carry that with her, correct? Not the nurse.
It'll depend on her situation.
Whatever she does in school.
But if she has, if in school it's held with the nurse, the nurse will carry it just like a school day. If she has orders to self-administer and wants to carry it with her, then you will need the orders for the nurse for her to self-administer and carry.
My pediatrician doesn't want to do it for her yet, because she said that she would need to train her first.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
she would be able to do it herself.
So it's just going to basically be whichever method you want us to use. You'll communicate with the nurse and she'll just make sure it's documented properly for whichever method you want to use. Okay.
Right. And that question, just for if people couldn't hear at home, was about medication question. If a student needs medication, do they need to carry it or does the nurse? It's very dependent on basically it will mimic what they do in school. But all those questions can certainly go to our nurse as well as we do that. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And as I said, any questions anywhere along the way, it sounds like May 8th and 9th is a long way off, but I mean, it's like March already. So, where did that time go? All right. So it'll be here before we know it, and it's going to be a great time. All right. Thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it.